15-year vet Marcus Allen needs just one more rushing touchdown to move past Walter Payton and become the NFL's all-time leader in rushing scores. As we welcome you back to the show here in Studio 7. All right, folks, tomorrow night it's the Cowboys and Packers in Dallas. Now, the Pack finds itself atop the NFC Central, although injuries have raised some doubts about the Packers' staying power in big games. But for the Cowboys, must win became their motto following a 1-3 start of the season. And since then, things have started to turn around. And, Ronnie, along the way, it appears that Barry Switzer and Troy Aikman have worked out some past difficulties and have a pretty decent relationship.
That's right, JB. But when you're in Dallas, believe me, everything is scrutinized and you live under a microscope. Hey, what's that cooking down in Cowboy country? The boys beat the Niners? Is that really? Come on, is that really Barry and Troy hugging? Okay, so why all the fuss about that?
Coach, everybody's been talking about you and Troy this week. What's the big deal? You guys won, you won a big game, and you should be excited.
Well, obviously we're under the microscope, and anything that we both do or say or perceived by the media and television is that, what is this? And we got to have an explanation for it. And, you know, really the only explanation is this, and as I've told people, that last week was a tough week for Troy and I both.
Since Barry took over as head coach, we were 0-3 against San Francisco, and so it was a big relief for him. It was a big game for him. It was equally a big game for the football team.
And to win there like we won was a tremendous relief for Troy and me, and it was a great week. And I just told him, I said, I'm happy for you and happy for me that this is something we need to have done.
I would think that it's your team now. Here you're in a situation where you're 6-4, you won a Super Bowl. What do you have to do to get these guys
We beat the ex-coach and we beat San Francisco.
Right.
So there'll be a lot of things come down the road, but I'm glad to have those things behind us.
When Barry first came here, it was very difficult circumstances for him, clearly. We were a team that had just come off 2 back-to-back Super Bowls. It was not his players, it was Jimmy's players, guys that he brought in. And over the last 3 years, I think Barry's become more and more comfortable with what his role is.
I came into a difficult situation when you inherit, especially a 2-time Super Bowl champion team. Inherit a staff. You come in as the stranger. That's a tough situation to come in. But I've always believed in my people skills, and that in time, as I asked them, if you give me a chance, all those things will work out.
And Barry and I had an opportunity to talk through some things in the off-season, and really felt like we were on the same page coming into this year. And I'm very happy with the job that Barry's doing this year, and we're getting along fine. And so maybe that was the first time the public had an opportunity to understand that hey, everything's fine between the two of us.
Now, the high that you had this past week, what's been the lowest low this year?
I think the lowest low I've had since I've been here, you know, we won the Super Bowl last year, but I wasn't a happy guy because of our relationship with Troy. And I told him that. I said, you know, here's a guy, I ought to be one of the happiest guys in the world to have won a Super Bowl, to accomplish something that, you know, was so important to Jerry and to me and our football team. And yet at the same time, it was an empty feeling because of how I had screwed up a situation, honestly, and that was intended to help.
Can you guys get it done this year?
I think we can definitely get it done. Yeah, this team's responded well to adversity, and there's been a lot said about that. I don't think it's ideal for any team to overcome as much adversity as what we have over the years. And as I've always said, I don't think you can ever underestimate the heart of a champion. And I think with that, you know, we're not going to go down without a fight.
Who's going to run you down and hug you this week?
I hope somebody does, because that means we won.
Right. And now that you feel good about your relationship with Troy and all the hugging and all that stuff is all over.
I wish the hell I hadn't done that, you know, because when people make it out to be more than what it is.
Oh, I know, but that's my
point. It's just the emotion of the moment.
Yeah, but my point to you is that that's going to happen again, don't you think?
Well, I hope so. I hope it happens next 6 weeks.
Yeah, right.
If we win, I might do it every time. Troy will be running from me at the end of the game. He'll be hugging it up that way.
A family affair. They have it there, but when I was down there, all the stars, Aikman, Emmett, Dion, I was astounded by so many stars. The great thing, though, is, man, I had a chance to talk to Michael Irvin. I said, Michael, what are you guys going to do? He says, our offense, we're ready to step up, ready to go to the next level. Then I thought about it. Fritz Schumer, the defensive coordinator, he has to put pressure on this team to win. The defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers has to put pressure, play man-to-man, and get those linebackers to go up and do the job.
Sounds like they gave Ronnie one of those keychains and a Dallas Cowboy little notebook. And, you know, they gave him a couple pictures. He's ready to join the Booster Club.
Cowboys, go.
The secondary for the Green Bay Packers has not shown well versus the Cowboys. I think Emmitt Smith averages over 100 yards. Michael Irvin's had outstanding games versus them. They're a little slower on turf down there. They're banged up. This is the type of game that Green Bay, and, you know, Ronnie and I have talked about this, and I disagree with Ronnie. He doesn't think it's an important game. I think it's an important game from a psyche standpoint, not necessarily from a record standpoint, but this is a hurdle that the Green Bay Packers have to make, as the 49ers did over the Cowboys, as you guys did over the Raiders, and then the Raiders finally stepped it back up and won in 77. These are the kinds of games that turn a team around and push them in the right direction.
Yeah, this football team, you look at Dallas. Dallas is not as good as it once was. But no one else, while they've dropped, no one else has risen to their level. And Dallas has proven to me without a doubt, and Barry Switzer, hats off, gets them ready to play in big games. They smell it now, and they have it. The only thing I have, the NFL wanted parity with scheduling to make it more competitive. We have that.
You
now
had a
it's
solution.
time.
What was your solution?
Get rid of the archaic thing and the schedule thing, and get Green Bay, get Dallas visiting Green Bay. This thing traveling down.
We had, well, you play at our place, I'll play at your place, you play at our place. Why can't the NFL figure that out? My guy here's got it all figured out.
It's not that complicated. I'd like to see Dallas go to Green Bay.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Well, the guy's been working on the internet again, huh?
Archaic. Can you spell
Archaic.
it?
Oh, boy, that's all right. Yes, I can.
internet.
All right, folks. Howie did answer the question about Green Bay needing that psychological edge to win the big games. All right, folks, as you know, last week against the Cowboys, Steve Young suffered his second concussion in 15 days. Now, that's on top of the fact that Young hasn't been completely healthy since opening day. And for a quarterback who doesn't hesitate to run when the opportunity is there, he'll continue to take big hits. And as our Pam Oliver tells us, Steve Young has been concerned about the effects of concussions long before last week.
What about your recklessness? Is there less of that, more of that, about the same, what? With so many people?
There's less.
Less?
There's less of it, just because you get better at my job. And my job is to get the ball out of my hand. I get better at it, you're not going to have it in your hand as much. But once I stuck with it, I mean, nature takes over, nature takes over, nature takes over.
On two successive second-quarter series against Dallas, Steve Young got the nature knocked clean out of him. The combined effects of those hits brought on the second concussion in 3 games.
There are a lot of people who are concerned about you and these head injuries given the way that you play the game.
Right, and I think that has some concern just because I don't feel I'm reckless because I feel like I use my head and try to make the plays that I'm capable of making. I just might have to use some more care in the way I handle the football.
Concussions have become a cause of growing concern in the league over the years. Some of the most dramatic cases forced players like Chris Miller, Al Toon, and Merrill Hodge to retire. Dr. Paul Vespa of the UCLA Medical Center specializes in neurology. Here he shows us what happens when a person suffers a concussion, however slight.
When you suffer a concussion, the brain actually will move back and forth, and at times will sort of twist. So it's not unlike this model here, where the brain actually is rubbing up against the skull.
Dr. Vespa says he'd advise a typical patient with such an injury as follows.
In someone who is a non-athlete, I advise them to stay off of their work, stay off of their normal activities for about a month to 6 weeks. I advise them that they're not going to be thinking clearly during that time, and that they should get back to their normal activities gradually. My advice to an athlete is to stay out at least for the same period of time, if not longer.
Bat chance with Young, who despite these scares proclaimed himself fit to play against Baltimore. Team doctors, however, disagreed, even after finding no cause for alarm from Young's test results.
I'm now coming back saying I'm excited about playing football because I know the risks, And I know that they're minimized by, first of all, the things that I'm going to do, whether it's wear a mouth guard and put some more air in my helmet and so forth, and then also the case that without a severe concussion, I can go play, and I'm safe to go play. So I think the real question is, are my reactions slowing down? That's what I really want to know. And we're going to be testing that over the next 5 weeks as I come back to play.
You're not diminishing the seriousness of
No,
head
and I want to be
injuries,
very... See, that's the hard thing, because I'm very serious about when I go to the neurologist, when I've had these things happen and I've talked to the doctors, I don't ask 1 or 2 questions. I ask 1,000 questions, because I have a life to live after football. Football is just going to be a small part of my life when I finally pass away, hopefully in a long time. I've been playing football a lot of years, but it's a very violent game, especially at the level in the NFL, especially quarterback. And so I've been doing it so long, and my body has treated me well, and I intend for it to treat me well into the future.
You know, clearly we should make no mistake that football is a violent game played by men who do choose to accept a high level of risk. But big boy, I mean, guys your size and strength running into each other, concussions are inevitable.
It's the long yardage hits, guys that have a 20-yard start. I mean, it's essentially like if you're sitting home in your living room throwing a couple of fiberglass helmets, go ahead out in the street, get 20 yards from one another, and run flat into one another full speed. That's what football is. It's a violent sport. There's no two ways about it. You know, I think back to early 80s, we were playing the San Diego Chargers. Matt Millen and I on the goal line. Chuck Muncie was about to break a record. They went for it on 4th and 1. 5 seconds left, called a timeout. I hit Chuck Muncie in the knee. Chuck was doing about 250 plus at the time. I hit him in the knee. Matt hit him high. We stopped him. I don't remember getting to the locker room. I must have just followed the crowd. I mean, and I don't think a lot of teams are going to be hiring Dr. Vespa. Take 5, 6 weeks off. I mean,
oh, you don't think?
My man here, I don't know how many times I helped him up in the huddle.
Ronnie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Guy.
Bill.
No, I'm Howie. That was Bill Patel.
Wait a minute. Look, I've got knocked out a lot of times. I mean, I understand that when you get knocked out in this game, it's part of the game, folks. One of the things, though, when you look at Steve Young, he has to take some time off. He's had other injuries. He has to address those injuries. He has to address his head. The key, though, to this is when you look at Steve and you look at his agent, they have to sit back and analyze the situation, knowing that Steve should be ready down the road, not necessarily this week or next week.
You know, and I agree with you 100%, Buck, but the thing about athletes in pain is real simple. Growing up playing football, as all of us did, Pop Warner on, you're taught pain's part of it. You got to be a man, overcome it. And we did that. You get a concussion. 2 days later, pain's gone. You go, I'm ready to play. But you're not. You're not ready to play. And that's the problem with the athlete. The minute the pain goes away, you say, I'm ready to play. I've been knocked out, but the good thing for me, the more knockouts I had, the better I played.
The problem is right now with Steve Young is not that he's playing any different than he has before. He used to be playing on a 1-lane country road. Now he's playing on a 4-lane freeway. That offensive line is not protecting him the way they once did. They need to get bigger. They need to get better at that.
Should there be a mandatory time to sit out, though, much like boxers have to sit out for a month?
I think you should take the week off for practice.
Only a week?
Just practice.
Just practice.
Fear of losing your job brings you back on the field, James.
Only Bradshaw would play better after being knocked out. Unbelievable.
That's
time
right.
for
you might be a football player.
But we've still got a lot more coming your way, including a look at the Redskins, who are trying to stop the skid. And the once high-flying Skins have dropped 2 straight, but they're not ready to quit just yet.
There's always a reason why people are saying we shouldn't be where we're at. You take that. That's been part of this year. You take it, you feed off of it, and we'll surprise some people, man.
Hard to believe Ricky Waters was complaining last week. He leads the NFC in total yards from scrimmage. Back with more in a moment.